I'm going to show a different workflow for real estate media photography, combining HDR and a flash. I've been wanting to make a tutorial on this for a while, and then I almost do, and then I discover a different way of workflow. So I think I've got it down pretty good to make this much more simple and fast without having to use that crap Adobe Photoshop, jump to Lightroom, flatten your layers, and jump back. That's just a horrible, way inconvenient workflow. And you're stuck in Adobe, which is a pretty much shit software that you don't want to be in anymore. So here we go. I'm going to I have 5 exposures here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I have a flash that gives you the true color of the room. That's the That's the benefit of having a flash and not just straight HDR exposures. So I'm going to take 3 of them. First one, the darkest, a middle, and an over. And we're going to create an HDR. So if you don't know ON1, this is the process for this. I'm going to take them. I don't really adjust anything here. I just let it be, and then we can do this after. Let it make its combination. Alright, so this is our merge of an underexposed, a middle, balanced, and an overexposed that it gives us back. It's pretty good, got nice windows. The inside's still dark, but that's fine. So the first thing you got to do after you do that is come over to here, lens correction, and depending on your camera, you click on here, click on here, find your camera, and then once you do that, this is all built into it. I didn't add or have to install anything extra. Your specific lens, I've already set mine up, so now I just hit auto. So once you set yours up, you can save a preset default right here, which I already did, so you can click that and see how if I turn this on and off. Distorted, lens correction. So it's pretty good. You can see the verticals are pretty straight on there. Sometimes it gets a little warpy. You got to fix things or however you need to do it. Color fringe, sometimes I really can't even see a difference there. And then you have like a distortion amount here, or sorry, not distortion amount, but fall off of some color. So let's say you push this up. If you don't know, you just double click, it goes right back to it. I don't ever adjust any of this, just this, and then here's the distortion. So if you need to kind of further tweak something, you see it stretching. No, there's some settings there. Close that, don't need it anymore. And you can see ON1 comes with layers, and similar to apps like Affinity Photo and Photoshop, you have blend modes, opacity, and you can actually drag and drop more layers in if you need to, but which we are going to do. So here's that. This is what I do, and kind of just been messing around on how to do this, finding the best way possible and quickest. So once I have this, now I actually take my flash layer, drop this in, and you can see right here, it puts it another layer. Once again, make sure you have the layer selected, lens correction, and you can see it pops right into place. Most of the time that does, once you have your first layer set, anything you add on top of it will auto correct, but if it doesn't, you just turn it on and add it again. So this is what I do. Here's my flash layer, but what I do is I duplicate it one more time. Okay, I'll show you why. But then this gives me a starting point for some color correction. But for my windows, I will actually take my underexposed drop that in. You see this one, it didn't auto fix. just fixed it. You can see it's good. It's right there. So there's my windows, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'm gonna turn this one off. So for this one, this layer right here, just messing around with some blend modes, by taking this layer and making it a color blend mode, and then dropping it down, about 50%, it removes the color cast. You see I click it on, click it off, it kind of removes the color cast a little bit, and that's really all I do for that one. And then for this one, turn that on. This one I change it to luminosity, which blends the flash part in there, and then I lower that, starting at around 50% right there, and you can see it helps brighten it up, but it kind of smoothens it, makes things a little more soft, but also adds the flash bounce to it and some of the true lighting. And then I will go back to here, my original HDR flatten layer, hit tone and color. Right here, purity, this is also a color casting adjustment. Push that halfway, all the way up, whatever kind of varies depending on the picture. And if you see, if I do a Command Z and undo, you can see that just a little bit of adjustment of yellow it removes. If I turn off the color layer that I added, you can see what that does too. That's on, that's off. So it still keeps some of the color, but removes some of the color cast in it. And then your luminosity mode, which gives you some of the flashback bounce and color. That we have our main layers kind of set, and then I said here's our window layer, but we'll get to that later. I start with here, our base HDR merge, and sometimes I'll check this. This is kind of an auto figure it out for you levels. That it does things. Sometimes it does a pretty good job. If not, then don't use it and adjust yourself. Gets you kind of start. Don't like it, don't use it. Or you can use that as a starting point to further adjust. So it gave me something. It looks fine. Each room is gonna vary depending on your angle, the way the window and light is bouncing. So if I took this picture from this angle, but then I took it from the opposite corner where I'm facing, where those windows are in the corner, but facing the other direction, it completely changes lighting, bounce, all that stuff in color. So you just gotta get yourself a base and then you move up. So you just move up, get some adjustments going. Check your highlights. Do you want to push that up, push it down? It's all opinion on what looks good. So, contrast. And then what I do to check is obviously I do a Command Z to undo, Command Shift Z to redo, and just kind of bounce back in that. And then we have structure. Sometimes you want to extreme sharpen or fuzzy it up a little bit, want to soften it, whatever looks good. Sometimes I'll just put just a little bit in there. with slight whatever, and then you have your haze and your colors there. So push that down a little bit. Tiny, you see tiny little jump, but only we're ever going to see as you're adjusting those subtle differences. So, as a artist, creative person, you'll go back and forth, back and forth. You'll never be happy. You just got to find that good point and move on. If you need to show more brightness, if I push it up to 1, is that too high? There was before, there was after. There you go. Let's go down here. Here's a before and after of this layer only. It does not take into account to the layers above it. So that was before. That's after our adjustments. Before, after. So if we check our, once again, our color flash blend mode, turn that off. You see the difference where it leaves a little bit of color. I don't understand this, these overseas editors who seem, and it's just become kind of standard and normal, I guess, but rooms that have white, consider white paint, are not like pure stark white. That's just not realistic. It looks great, but that's not realistic. You have colors bouncing all over the place. This is a yellowish, this is a brown, the sun coming in, the green. It's fine to actually have color and a little bit of yellow, because that's what the room really looks like. It's not pure stark white. No matter how big and modern a house is, this is never going to be a pure white. So it's just not realistic, and I don't agree with that look at all. We turn the flash off, you can see what it does. It gives you a real color of the room. It gives you some light bounce from, so when I take these, I have the light or the flash bouncing from behind me. Yeah, so with the luminance layer, luminance blend mode, and having a flash, it gives you the real color of the room and gives you some light from the light bounce, which when I take this picture, which is a separate photo from the HDR where I set up the bracketing, I click, it takes the exposures, and then on the Canon, I have an EOS R5, you have to turn off or as soon as you turn on the flash, it disables the bracketing function automatically, and then I will take a picture with just the flash, which I have the flash angled to bounce behind me, and then push out whatever's in front of me. And then you have to turn the flash off, and then turn your bracketing, which enables you to turn the bracketing back on, because you cannot turn your brackets on when the flash is enabled. They will fight you on that. So anyways, that is that. So anyways, this is my flash layer. The same thing with this one. This is just the same flash photo, just a different blend mode. This has a luminosity 50%. Usually is a good starting point, but sometimes you need to just kind of adjust depending on the lighting of the room. See how it adjusts. So if you want a little more, a little less, it varies. Usually I think between 40 and 50 is usually where I'm staying, but it changes. Let's turn that off. That's annoying. Alright, so back to my layers. So yeah, in case you do that, sometimes I do that by accident. I'm like, where'd my layers go? It's its own little drop down, and it's not obvious that it's a drop down. You just gotta click it and open it back up. All right, so coming back to this, so we have a base going on there. Here's all your controls. Some color, if you need to color adjust that, or use the picker to get an automatic white balanced selection. Doesn't always work. Here's your highlight purity. So if you are using traditional HDR, no flash, this will compensate for that yellowness that happens. Then you have some shadows too that you can adjust. I don't ever adjust any of that though. So you just kind of got to play around, get your layers going, adjust some settings there, whatever may look good. This one I usually don't do anything with, I just leave flat other than the color and 50%. Luminosity, blend mode, and 50%. This one I'll mess around with a little bit, just if I need to kind of push up a little bit more. So you just got to find out what works. If you use the exposure, we're blowing out this. So I will work on the shadows and midtones first, because it does not affect this as much. There you go. Yeah, see, doesn't do nothing. Does that. Push the blacks down. So this is kind of an extra boost layer, if you want to call it. Contrast. You get the idea. So we're not getting into the details about that. It's more of just to show you the workflow that I've stumbled on practicing, trying to find the best and fastest way if you want to do these yourself, which I do. I do not send my work to overseas. I don't have any problem with outsourcing as long as they're in America. I'm not sending work to somebody else to save money. And it doesn't come back as good, and you don't control the original layers. Whatever program you're using and workflow you're using, if somebody needs an adjustment, you don't have the original working files and layers of how things are built. So if you don't know how to recreate something yourself, or you do and you don't have the original layers and working files, now you have to spend time to do it anyways, which I guess it's it's only a few minutes compared to a few hours. But anyways, you can send your stuff to overseas. I will not ever send my work to somebody else that's on the other side of the world just because it costs $1 an image. I'll do it myself. All right, so let's get into the windows. So it kind of looks off right here when you can't see the true windows. So sometimes it helps to do the windows first, even though the lighting that's coming from here is not going to affect anything here, but to see the contrast of the windows and your adjustments helps you see it differently. So here's a layer. ON1 has kind of a weird thing where as soon as you first add it, and you have to right click on here to invert the mask, which basically erases everything, and then you drop back, or you can work this way, whatever. But for whatever reason, like when you first add the layer and you go to click this, these will be grayed out. Don't know why. Still glitches in here, but I choose this program over Capture One or Lightroom. Capture One can't even do what we're doing here anyways. I've tried it. It doesn't have the actual capabilities to do this type of workflow. Anyways, if you have that issue where you click on here and this is grayed out, just click off, click on, and then this will be here. So invert mask. All we have done is basically erased everything, and now we're going to draw it back. Now we are going to work on the windows here, and that's what these tools over here are for. Put that back there. So now we are going to work on the windows and put them back in right here. This is the only way to do this when you're doing an HDR and you're not doing where you point your flash at these windows. and basically you blow out the frame, but the windows come out perfect. You got to angle yourself so you try and eliminate the flash bounce reflection in the window, so it takes a few shots. But the advantage of doing that is that you don't have to draw a path back in the windows. Big windows like this, not a big deal. You just kind of go point, 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 fill in, move on. But when you have something that has blinds or lots of little slices or lots of little squares, that's where you have to do each one, little slice, whatever it is. But when you do a flash bounce or pop, whatever you want to call it, all you do is you take that particular flash layer, drop it in, apply blend mode of darken, and it pretty much eliminates, blends in the color that's around it, but the windows are done. Pretty much, that's it. You just kind of, maybe you have to soften out a little bit of a color around there that you might see, but it's done. And that's where doing a flash against the window and the blend mode of darken saves you a whole lot of time. But I'm not doing that on this one, so this is the HDR version. All right, here's our tools. Here's our masking and brush tools. This one right here. We're not going over any of these right now. So you click up here, and these are various masking brushing tools. Obviously, here's the main mask one. Here's our size. Bring that up a little bit. Erase or paint. Since we've already basically erased it, we're going to paint back in. Use your brush strength and brush feather. So this isn't what we're going to do here exactly. I'm just showing you that we're just basically, it looks weird. It looks like it's off because of all the blackness, but we're actually painting that layer back in. But that's not how we want to do this. There is a thing here called Refine Brush, which sometimes works. It's a little weird in the way it works. Sometimes it does a really good job and sometimes it doesn't. So it's not really meant for what I'm about to show you, but it is handy. Right now we're in mode erase, but we want paint, and there is auto, but it doesn't always get it correctly where it chooses on its own. Size and then different sort of modes for it. I just leave it on the hairbrush. It doesn't seem to make any difference on any of these. I've tried them all. Nothing really looks any different. You can adjust some settings here as far as how it affects sort of the edge blending it does. But I haven't really seen any difference. Sometimes I think it depends on where you exactly start with the little center point cursor there. But I'll show you what happens here. So if this worked flawlessly, this would be awesome. This is what we do. You just start at a point, draw it down, and close. So it kind of thinks. But you can see it looks awesome, but obviously you can tell the difference of this is not very smooth. But like I've done it where I've hit it just perfect and it does a really good job, and then you can kind of soften it with the mask feather a little bit. But this kind of more for like if you have plants, a lot of plants mixed together, you need to get some masking, but you don't want to path it. That's kind of what that does. So we're going to undo that. What we are going to do is use the line mask. I will usually set like 1 or 2 feather here. It kind of varies. And we are going to, see here, erase paint. We want to paint in, but this is what you do with this. So here, it's kind of hard to see. See it right there. So if we click in here, we go click. click. I don't know why I didn't click the first time. Just follow the edge. See, when it's a nice big open easy square window like this isn't such a problem. It's when there's lots of little bits within the window. You can see how the bucket turned to an X. That means we're going to fill it. And that's it. And ON1's got some issues here, like you can see it's not quite right there. But if you roll over it just right, you see this little dot, and you can further fix the path. Same thing with the other side. Just got to roll over the right spot. Just got to kind of grab it and reposition it. It only happens on the verticals, and the longer the stretch is between up and down, the more bowing it gets. It's probably just something with the distortion adjustment. See, like this. But sometimes this doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. As soon as you apply a fill, and then you go to do like what I did here, it doesn't let you. It's like the mask is stuck. So you either have to like undo and redo, or let it do what it does. See if I click back here, I know you can see this edge right here, but the point is I'm just showing you this workflow. But you can tell that's where you kind of go in. Go back to it. Say you want to adjust it again, you just got to go back, click on it, and you can see you can hover and click it. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get it just right. Let's see, sometimes you can get in there and readjust it if it's not quite right, but then other times you can't. It just gets kind of almost a flattened, even though it's not flattened mask, and even though you move this, it won't let you adjust it. Who knows? Alright, and then you just, as long as you're within the tool and you press this and hold the space bar, it turns into a hand, and that way you can grab it and move, kind of like other graphic apps. But once again, you just get a point, click, click. Make sure we got paint active, and click. So you can see, as I was telling you before, the shorter the vertical distance, the less it distorts, it bows out. Sometimes you got to get way in there to really make sure you're clicking exactly where you need to click. Here. It's nice when it works, but it doesn't always. You need to fine-tune that line. All right, here. Here we are kind of going over the blind, this roll up adjustment. You can see it right there, the handle that pulls it up and makes it longer. But we're not worried about that right now. Come back out. Let's go do these windows. So you wanted to cut around this, so you just kind of click, click. But what happens sometimes with ON1, because it's it's not really a graphic design program. If you're too close and you try and click a point, let me undo that. It'll automatically snap back to that. So sometimes you have to go a little farther, click, hold, and then bring it back. And even though you might be like this close, it will work. So this one's got a little bit of a work to it. Just got to pull it out, push it back. Maybe pull that out right there. And then if you do Command 0, it's like zooms out to the whole picture. Alright, so there's our windows. Obviously they're dark. And this is another layer you can do. Auto fix everything for you. There's good. It's pretty much, you could call that done. Or you can sit here and mess with things a little bit if you want to adjust whatever. Shadows specifically, whatever looks good to you. One thing I do like to do besides this, if you want to start with this or if you just want to do your own, is then you go to Effects, Add Filter. I like to do a color enhance for green, and see how that just helps make the trees pop a little bit. And even sometimes another one for blue sky. This helps make them a little more saturated. Maybe not quite as real as it might be, but sometimes it's okay. You can see like it made the top of the house blue. Say you don't like that, so now you're already on it. You don't have to do anything. This is your mask layer. And you've got some controls. This blending right here. You can do some blending, opacity. But here's some controls. You can look into more of what all this stuff is. But anyways, when you're on the layer, you're in mask mode. So all you got to do is come over to your tool, choose which tool you want. So I want to erase, and then if you do your bracket keys, left for small, right to make it bigger, shortcut for that. Let's say you don't like that blue right there, adjust your feather, adjust your opacity, and just erase it. Before, after, and that's it. And here's our windows. You could really call that done. Sometimes I'll do this where like, maybe it's a little too popped out with the colors, and you want to make it, maybe it's a little more faded. Just simply, this might be a little more realistic. Lower it down a little bit. So there's 100%, there's 75%. That might be a little more real. Who knows? Whatever looks good. But yeah, I might even sometimes actually multiply, because it gives it a little bit of a color pop to it that in normal mode isn't there. So, and then you can kind of adjust it. But that's what I'll do sometimes. You can go back and forth in this forever. You'll never be happy. But for the most part, that's done. This is a realistic looking room with HDR without having to do a bunch of flash pops and then blending all those together and masking and whatever to fill up these corners. This would be real. those rooms that are like perfectly bright, perfectly, completely white walls and trim with like barely any shadows or any color bouncing, that's not real, and you really need to get away from that type of look because it's fake. So, but what you can do, so you wanted to fill in this area that there's a little shadow and kind of make it look like there's some light over there, is use your develop, go to effects, add a filter, curves, and just push this up. And who knows, you may even like that. See, like, there you go. It pushes the whole room up. Maybe that looks good to you right there. And then you can grab this and, you know, put your darks down just a little bit. You can see what happens there. But what I'm showing you is we kind of push this up until whatever looks good to you as far as bright, the light right there. And like I said, just being on the layer, you're in mask mode. You don't have to click this. You're already ready to go. So you just go first, actually invert it, erase it, because we're going to paint it back how we want. So we go to our mask tool, our brush tool, this one here, mask and brush. Right bracket key, make it as big as you need to be. If you do Command minus, that sometimes you need to get off to the off canvas here, makes it smaller. Command plus, bigger. Feather, you might want to drop this down kind of low because you want to gradually rebuild it. Right here, a little bit bigger, and then you just start painting that particular our curves layer, the color, we're painting it back in. And each time you click and let go, it's putting a little more in there each time. Come back. Now watch. Just a little bit. See, it helps blend it. Nobody would ever know. That's, you're not using a flash. You just need to help that light make it seem like there was some light there. You know, if you can see right here, it's kind of where I ended. If you need to blend that, you know, blend it. That's where you would just go back to your brush in erase mode, maybe lower this a little bit more, hit the enter to get out of that, and then just erase, big faded erase. Just get in however you need to get it. And that's pretty much it. That's once you get this down, this image, from what I showed, would only take less than 10 minutes, maybe probably more, even like 5. Because once you have your, say you have some good settings you know that you want to use every time as your base, you click on the layer, say this is okay, this is good, I like it, I want to use this as my base, at least for this house, because the next house might be different, or whatever it is you're shooting. These exact settings might not work, and you sort of need to start over per house. You get your base layer and adjustments down. What you can do is you got to have the layer selected, which, by the way, if you double click, you can rename it, but we're not doing that. And then here's some more stuff going on. So you make sure you have the layer you want selected, settings, save settings as preset. So I have a folder here I made called real estate. But you can do another one right here. Add new category. We'll call this for example, Yorba Linda house. Hit OK. So now we're in this folder. Call this what you want. This is what we call it. Helps maybe to put a number in front of it. Base HDR layer, and hit save. I'll show you. This is your presets. All these ones that come with it. You can delete these one by one, which I have done because I don't use any of this crap. But as soon as like a major update comes, it puts them all back. So it's kind of frustrating, and I don't know how to find these individually within the system files. But see right here, here's the one I made. Here is my setting. Now if we go to our next one up, color, we didn't adjust anything on this, so really it's not going to make much of a difference. Let's go to this one. This is our luminosity one, so we did change a little bit. Settings, it's only affecting whatever layer you're on, and this one we call, luminosity layer. Save. Click on our Windows layer. You can see how this changes the preview to show what this might look like with that particular settings. Save settings, it's preset. Windows. And so here's your presets. I forgot to put numbers on these ones, but you get the idea. But what this does not do, which sucks, is so you have your presets, you drop in your layers, you haven't done anything yet, you apply the preset, but what the preset does not remember is your blend mode and opacity mode, an opacity setting. It only remembers this stuff and anything that you've done in here. So, and it remembers your, most of the time, your lens correction too. You don't have to add that every time, but sometimes it does not add the lens correction. You gotta turn it back on. But it does not remember the blend mode or the opacity. So once you add your layer, you come over here, you add your preset, you have to come back to here every time and then choose your blend mode, choose your opacity, and set that each time. It doesn't remember it. And you close it. And, here you go. All right. Say you're all done. You got your window layer, a little nice luminosity light bounce. See the difference? It helps gives the room some depth, kind of softens things up so they're not so crisp and harsh. You can see another thing actually. If I turn on that light layer, look at the piano right there. It helps give some more dimension to the piano as well, because you're seeing the light as well. You have your color layer, so maybe you like that better, or this. But the one thing I did notice with a color layer is you see right here the light reflection from the floor. When this is off, it's very harsh, and this helps take away and blend how it really would look reflecting on here. So that's another good thing about this, is it doesn't make it puts the color back better, whatever you want to call it. And then you have your base. So say you're done, you're good. Now you want to export this image. Export. Well, first you gotta say you want to close it out. This looks like your save button. Turns it off. Now we can continue on if you want to. Other layers, but I usually with everyone, once I adjust my images, do my flat layer, do my adjustments, I click here, this kind of becomes an easy way to filter them. So if we go up to here, and no, here, see, this is a way to like filter or culling, I don't know, whatever, that's kind of a trendy word right now, that stupid culling thing. Anyways, light is the heart, you just click that, and see, it hides everything but the heart layer. Or if you use stars or this, it just automatically brings all those back. You can see all the ones I've done. But to turn it off, not as simple. When you do none, it doesn't pop back. So you have to click off, click back on, and then you get all your images back. So still issues here, but so here's some more pictures of the house, more exposures. Obviously outside you don't need a flash, just for the inside. Right there. There we go. All right, so now we want to export this image. So select. You can select multiple ones. File, export, window. These are just presets. You can probably save your own. I don't ever use any of this. Choose the folder where you want to save. I'm just going to choose desktop. Open. Here's your file type. You want to choose here, JPEG. This is the default, it comes at JPEG 90. Fine. And then you hit export. You wait, it does its thing. Here's our exported image. And that's it. That's our JPEG version of the full resolution of whatever you shot the photo in with your camera, Canon, Sony, whatever, whatever you dropped in is what it exported out, unless you change some specific settings. But that's it. So from here, once you get the workflow down, you know, realistically, this would have taken about a little over 5 minutes if this was the first one. And then, like I showed, once you have your settings down and you save a preset, you know, you'll go even faster after that. Really, what takes the longest with real estate photos is the windows. If you're not using where you take your flash and point it directly at the windows, so you'll need a remote flash. So on your camera, which for me here is already like, it's back behind us. You would be standing over here somewhere, and then pointing your flash in this direction. You know, probably per each window, maybe just so you can get each window good, but you might be able to get all of them. That becomes its own layer, and then you take that layer, drop it into ON1, apply the darken mode, which blends all this pretty much perfectly, but the window stays perfect. You might want to tweak a little bit of colors, but if you do see any type of coloring here, just softly erase it, blend it in, but it saves you a lot more time than having to, if this had vertical blinds or lots of little squares, you would have to manually path each one of those to fill them back in. I know there are the luminosity masks, Lightroom, there's a specific plugin made for Lightroom. Photoshop that does the really good luminosity masks. And that's great, but I have never found them to work with the way I do things. Like I said, I don't use Adobe, I don't use Lightroom. Capture One is a joke. Luminar Neo has potential, but it's still new. So it doesn't have a line path tool, it only has brushes. And you can do luminosity masks, or trying to do an AI selection and all that AI garbage that people think is so great, but it's not. It doesn't do a perfect cut. You need the path tool to make that perfect cut, or the flash and darken mode bounce. So that's it. That's what I've done here. It's what I've figured out. Hopefully this works for you as another option to whatever you may have been using, and you find this better and not stuck in the horrible system of Adobe's downfall and overpriced software and all the stuff that's going on with them. I used to use them. I've been doing this for over 20 years, not photography, but I've used Adobe for graphic design since version like 1.5. So I've used them for a long time, but about 10 years ago, I was like, nope, this is horrible. Dumped them, went to Affinity, Final Cut, and DaVinci. That's what I do. I don't do any motion really graphic stuff. Used to do 3D stuff, but not anymore. Anyways, I hope you guys got some eye-opening education out of this as another way to do this, because all anybody teaches is Adobe, Photoshop, Lightroom, flatten, back. That's just, it's not good at all. I don't know why everybody keeps teaching this 30-year-old ancient workflow that is just way outdated. But anyways, good luck. Hope this works for you.